touching the opposite gender with lust or without lust. The touching the opposite gender. Does that break wudu or not break wudu? There are three madhahib. We can say the three extremes. One school says it breaks wudu in all cases whatsoever. The other says it doesn't break wudu in all cases whatsoever. And there is a middle school which says in some cases and some doesn't. It comes from Surah An-Nisa, the ayah of wudu, the ayah of tayammum, ayah 43. أو لامستم النساء فتيمموا. أو لامستم النساء. The word lamastum or lamastum, it can be interpreted in different ways. Lams is touching. That's a lams too. Or lams can mean if you touch with lust. And lamastum can indicate that it's talking about even going further, not just touching. So let's go through that. The madhab of Imam Shafi'i, they take the word lamastum or lamastum nisa. Lamastum can be because it says if you contact a woman and if you don't find water, then do tayammum. Like Sheikh bin Baz, he also said that this means intercourse. It doesn't mean just contacting by touch. But Shafi'is, they take the meaning touch here, literally touch. So the madhab of Shafi'is is that it invalidates wudu in all cases. If a man, for example, touches a woman intentionally or unintentionally, with lust or with not lust, your wife or stranger, but it excludes your mahram, like your mother, your sister, or the mother which breastfed you, and the sister from the similar way, or your daughter, obviously excluding them, but intentionally, unintentionally, with lust, with no lust, whoever who is not your mahram. So they say it breaks wudu. End of story. So this is one interpretation. That's one side of the extreme side of the spectrum. Let's go to the madhab of Ahnaf, which is the other extreme. Ahnaf say is the opposite of Shafi'is. They say if a man touches a woman, if it's done intentionally, unintentionally, with lust, without lust, it doesn't break wudu. They say lamastum means al-jima', intercourse. For them, that contact is the contact of private parts with the private part. That's what they interpreted. And if you go in tafsir, many will support this view. So they say it doesn't break wudu. Using the same logic the other used for our previous point. There is not any clear dalil to say it breaks wudu, so it doesn't break wudu. So they say in principle nothing can invalidate wudu unless you have a clear evidence. And every school uses that rule when they don't find a strong enough evidence to support the view. Let's go through some hadith. There is a hadith which is mentioned in Bukhari and Nisa'i maybe some other hadith as well, books of hadith. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha said, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was praying. She said he used to pray, and then I used to be lying down, and then when he used to go for sajda, he would touch my leg or poke me. So I will retract my legs. He will do sajda. Anyone heard this hadith? Good. So this is a famous hadith. It's in Bukhari. So this is a proof. If touching could break wudu, that's we talking without lust. But touching could break wudu, why would Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam touch her feet? There is another hadith which is an authentic hadith in Nisa'i. One day, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she said, I woke up, I didn't find Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam next to me, so I searched for him. She found him and she touched his heels or his feet when he was praying. The hadith continues what he was saying in the prayer. But he continued praying. If this broke wudu, then why would he continue to pray? There is also hadith in Abi Dawood which is authenticated by Sheikh Albani, and many scholars have authenticated it, and some have not authenticated it. But in general, I think the hadith is accepted as a authentic hadith. In this hadith, it says Prophet ﷺ kissed one of his wife, he didn't do wudu, and he went for salah, and he prayed, went for prayer. So this is where Ahnaf say, with lust or no lust, with affection or no affection, you touch, you don't touch, it doesn't break your wudu. This is the view of Ahnaf. So we have now done two madhahib, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Abu Hanifa. They're like two opposite to each other, and they have their view, because Imam Shafi'i takes the word lamastum, a literal meaning, which is contact in any sense. The Hanafis, they interpret lamastum in light of these hadith. They say that's what it means. The madhab of Malikis and Hanbalis, they say that touching the opposite gender does not break wudu unless it's with lust. They say just touching does not break wudu, but if it's with lust, then it does break wudu. So they looked at the evidences of the both side, and they took kind of the middle view, if that makes sense. And the hadith used same hadith. So they say if it's with lust, and because that hadith about kissing and then going, it is not been authenticated by everyone. So it doesn't hurt the view. Doesn't really go against the view of Malikis and Hanbalis, where it says with lust it will break wudu, because they say, well, this hadith is not at the authenticity level which we will accept. So they say, we know Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, she touched him when his feet, when he was praying, he has touched her feet to remove her feet when he was praying. That was not with lust. So that means wudu doesn't break if it's not with lust. And as for the other hadith, by kissing and going to pray, they don't accept it as enough proof to take that view. Without going, if you go into the books of Malikis and Hanbalis, you will find other debates. By end of the day, it's around these hadith, and these are the three views. Clear? Good? And if a person, for example, Hanafis, they say a person, if he touches with lust, it does not break wudu. But if something comes out from the front passage, like in the hadith of Bukhari, Ali radiallahu ta'ala who said, Kuntu rajulan madha'an. I was a man. Madha' means the madhi is a drop which comes out when a person is excited in a sexual way. So he said, I was shy to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about it. Then he told someone to ask Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said he needs to do wudu in that case. So if someone does touch, let's say his wife, and then he finds himself in the similar scenario, he will have to do wudu. If the touch didn't break the wudu, if he is madha, then he needs to do wudu. Making sense?
Yeah, who says that?
All of them say that, because we already covered whatever comes out from the two passages requires wudu regardless. So everyone, so I'm saying whether someone believes touching women or breaks wudu or not, but if he finds himself he has ejaculated or he has madhi or something has come out, and then he has to do wudu obviously, or ghusl, depending on his situation. We will cover that in the future lessons. So if the matter has gone beyond touching, then he has to do wudu, because we have already covered first anything which comes out of two passages, it breaks wudu.